How do you get $50,000 or more for your startup and owe nothing? Yes, it's possible. And during this training, I'm gonna talk about exactly how you could do it, how you could tap into free money to be able to actually fund your startup business. So by the end of this training, you're gonna know how it works, you're gonna know multiple different types of programs you can tap into, and you're gonna have everything you need to know to actually successfully get $50,000 or more for your startup that doesn't have to be paid back. We got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. Okay, so is it really possible to get free money for a startup business? The answer is overwhelmingly, absolutely yes. And that money comes from grants. And there's a lot of different types of grants out there. There's actually over 10,000, I think, types of grants that are available for you right now. So grants are money that doesn't have to be paid back. This is where you're actually given money that you don't have to pay back in the form of a loan or give up equity in your company. Now, typically grants are there to incentivize something. And the normal things they're usually there to typically incentivize are things like growth in certain industries. So you might have a town or a state, for example, that really wants to do a lot with solar power. So they offer all kinds of grants to solar power companies to entice them to come into the state or start within the state. Now, beyond just an industry, maybe it's a geographic area. So you may have a town that has a slower area of town that they're really trying to revitalize. They're really trying to get a lot of growth. So they'll actually give grant money to get businesses to come in and occupy that actual space. This brings in employees, this brings in new residents, and this grows that area of that actual community. The other thing is you find that grants incentivize the giving of money to underserved audiences. So underserved audiences are veterans. It could be women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. So there's a lot of businesses out there that are underserved that typically struggle. It's more difficult for them to get financing, and grants are there to incentivize those type of businesses to be able to get financing. Look, there's a lot of things that grants are designed to incentivize you to do, but those are the main areas. We look at growth in a geographic area, growth in an actual sector, or underserved audiences. Now, there's a lot of different types of grants available. One of the types is government grants, and this is the biggest sector of grants that's out there right now. Now, you can go to grants.gov to tap into a lot of different grants that are available by the federal government. There's thousands of them out there. One of which is the Small Business Innovative Research Grant and the Small Business Technology Transfer Grant. And both of these grants are all about R&D, research and develop. It's about you coming up with new technology and new ideas. So again, this type of grant is there to actually incentivize growth in that sector, right? Research and development, advancements in technology. Now, this is just one simple example of thousands and thousands of government grants that are out there. Make sure you check out grants.gov to be able to see all the types of government grants that are out there for you right now. Now, there's also a lot of grants out there from nonprofit organizations or from trusts as well. So a lot of people that are billionaires, for example, create their own trusts, create their own projects to give out money in sectors that they actually want to see growth in as well. Again, same reasons behind those grants apply. So we may see that some of these grants are to incentivize growth in the technology space. Others are there to be able to incentivize problems that help the world overall, right? How do we move to solar? How do we burn less fossil fuels? So a lot of grants are there to incentivize these. Now, these are offered from private organizations, again, in large part, trusts and nonprofit organizations. Now, there's also grants from private companies and publicly owned companies as well. So grants from Apple, FedEx, UPS are just some common examples where they have grants to incentivize growth in certain areas as well. So when you're looking at grants, we want to look at nonprofits. We want to look at trusts. We also want to look at all the grants out there from large companies that are publicly owned and privately owned as well. There's even a lot of competitive grants or competition grants. And these are grants out there offered by the government and in large part, private individuals, trusts, nonprofits, where they're actually out there creating a competition that you can win. So you might be able to get $10, $50, even $100,000 from these kind of programs just because you're competing in a grant contest and you win the actual contest. And oftentimes these contests have a first, a second, a third place winner. So you can even win money. Even if you're in third place, you may win $5,000, $10,000 or more. Now, I know you may already be saying this is a little overwhelming. Hang on, because by the end of this training, I'm actually going to show you a place where you can get all this information on all these grants in one place. But before we do, let's talk about our next type of grant. which are corporate grants. Now, corporate grants oftentimes have to do with social responsibility, right? So what are you doing now to help others? What are you doing to give shoes to kids that do not have shoes? What do you have to do to solve the problems that we're facing in the world right now? The more corporate responsibility you have, the more types of grants become available to you. And again, in this sector, we also look at industry grants. A lot of grants are out there just based on the industry that you're in. For example, if a company in the transportation industry is trying to find a cheaper way to move things from one place to another, well, then they may have a competition saying, hey, look, whoever has the best idea to be able to save cost on this type of trip actually wins the grant. And what they're really looking for is fresh ideas and suggestions, willing to invest in somebody that has those kinds of ideas. And these are very similar to innovation grants. Innovation grants is all about being innovative. It's all about the companies that have the best and brightest ideas. And these are commonly offered by these large trusts and these large publicly owned companies that are really trying to incentivize growth in their own area by getting ideas from others. And of course, minority and women-owned business grants are out there as well. This is one of the biggest sectors of grants that exist, is being able to incentivize growth by putting the money in the hands of underserved business owners. The Minority Business Development Agency is one agency that's dedicated to helping put these type of grants in minority business owners' hands, while women-owned small business grants are there to put the money in the hands of women entrepreneurs. Look, depending on what type of underserved demographic you represent, there may as well be grants specifically for you that you really want to look into. There's a lot of different types of grants. So let's look at the biggest categories. Federal grants are by far the biggest. We want to go to grants.gov to check those out. You also want to look at state grants, local grants, community grants. So you can go to a place called Grant Watch to keep an eye on those type of grants as well. Don't forget about the private grants offered by the trust, privately owned companies, and publicly owned companies as well. If you just tap into those kind of grants, well, then you're probably looking at about 80% of the grants that are available to you right now. If you want all the information on grants, you have to check out our course that breaks everything down for you. It's got master list of thousands of different grants you can get right now. It breaks down local grants, state grants, community grants, federal grants, even the grants from the privately and publicly owned companies as well. How to write a grant proposal, how to write a business plan, everything you need to succeed is all in one new course. You can get it on our member site, members.creditsuite.com/grant-secrets. That's members.creditsuite.com/grant-secrets. So make sure you check that out to get all the training you need on getting the grants you need to get $50,000 or more in funding for your startup business without you paying any money to get it. And if you got value from this training, make sure you like and subscribe and keep your eye out for our next training. We're talking about more cool ways to get the money you need to start and grow your business.